We all begin with bright hopes. We set our sights on something new, a skill to learn, a project to start, a change we want to make. These are our goals, our ambitions. They represent our desires, our drive. They are beacons of what could be, shining brightly in our minds, guiding us towards a future we imagine, a future filled with accomplishment. But life often has other plans. Sometimes the path gets tricky. We start with great energy, then things slow down or stop. These are the unfinished goals. Tasks we started but did not complete. Dreams we chased but did not catch. Ambitions that remain just out of reach. They linger in the back of our minds, a gentle, persistent whisper of what was started. Unfinished goals come in many forms. They can be big, like writing a book or starting a new business venture. They can also be smaller daily tasks, finishing that online course you signed up for, organizing the cluttered garage space, learning that new language for a trip, or even mending a relationship. Each one carries its own weight. Each one tells a part of our story. It is important to know this. Having unfinished goals is not a failure. It is a very human experience. So many of us walk this path. We start things with passion and hope. Sometimes we don't reach the end. This isn't a sign of weakness. Instead, it's a chance to understand ourselves, to look deeper into our motivations and the complex dance of life itself. These unfinished goals are everywhere. They are not just personal quirks, they are a common thread in our lives. Think about your own list for a moment. The gym membership rarely used, the book half read on your nightstand, the passion project gathering dust. These are universal experiences, truly. We all know this feeling well. It connects us in unseen ways. This experience touches everyone. Students face it with their studies, assignments postponed, research incomplete. Professionals know it too very well. Projects stall, career shifts pause. Creatives often wrestle with this, the half-painted canvas, the unsung song. Entrepreneurs see it in ventures, ideas that didn't quite take flight. No one is immune to this reality. It's a fundamental part of striving. Sometimes society adds to this weight. We feel pressure to always achieve, to constantly be productive, be more. Success is often narrowly defined as only completing things perfectly. This can lead us to start too much or to fear not meeting high standards. So we leave things incomplete, not from a lack of desire often, but from the sheer weight of expectation. Understanding this is truly vital. It's the very first step, a step towards feeling better, towards growing as individuals. When we see this as shared, not shameful, we can start to unpack it gently. We can learn from these experiences instead of letting them define us negatively. This journey of understanding is crucial. It helps us move forward with more grace. Unfinished goals are more than just tasks. They are not simply items on a list. They are tied deeply to our feelings. They carry a significant emotional weight, a weight that can feel heavy. It can influence our mood, our energy. It can shape how we see ourselves and how we view our capabilities. This emotional side is often unseen, but it is incredibly powerful. This is why we call it an emotional roller coaster. There are ups and downs, twists and turns. Sometimes we might feel a pang of guilt or a shadow of frustration that lingers. Perhaps a touch of anxiety bubbles up when we think of what's left undone. These feelings are real and valid. They are signals from within us, telling us something needs attention, something needs to be acknowledged. Our aim here is not to dwell, not to get stuck in the negative. The purpose is to bring understanding, to shine a light on these feelings, to explore why they happen and what they might be teaching us. This is about compassion for ourselves. It's about finding clarity and peace. It's about learning to navigate this very common human experience. So we will explore this together. We will look at the psychology behind it, why our brains hold on to these tasks. We will name the emotions involved, understand their roots, their impact. We will uncover why we leave goals unfinished and discover the hidden lessons they hold. Most importantly, we will find ways to heal, to learn, and to move forward towards a more intentional and fulfilling path. Our minds are truly fascinating, complex places. They don't just process information passively, they actively engage with our experiences, our tasks, especially those tasks that remain incomplete. This isn't some kind of flaw in our mental wiring. In fact, it's more like a built-in feature, a feature designed perhaps to help us focus, to ensure we follow through on important things. But in our busy modern lives, this feature can feel overwhelming. It keeps unfinished business very much alive in our thoughts. Think of your brain as having a dedicated internal manager. This manager is incredibly diligent, always on duty. Its job is to keep track of everything you've started. It sends out little reminders, nudges about pending items. This internal system is deeply rooted in our psychology. It's a fundamental aspect of how we operate. It doesn't always distinguish between a major life goal and a minor task left undone from yesterday. To the brain, an open loop is an open loop, and it often wants to see it closed. This psychological pull towards completion is remarkably strong. It's the unseen current that keeps certain thoughts surfacing. We might try to consciously push these thoughts away. We might attempt to ignore that nagging feeling of incompletion, but our brains are often wired to remember what is not yet closed. This is where the field of psychology offers us profound insights. It helps us understand the why behind that persistent awareness. The awareness that something is still pending, still awaiting action. It explains why these goals don't just fade into the background noise. They demand a certain portion of our mental energy. So in this part, we journey into the mind's inner workings. We explore how unfinished goals are more than just entries on a list. They take up valuable real estate within our cognitive space. They occupy our thoughts, often without our full conscious realization. This exploration isn't about assigning blame to our brains, it's about fostering a deeper understanding of their processes, because understanding is the very first step towards effective management, towards finding a way to work harmoniously with our minds, not against them. This knowledge can empower us to navigate these challenges with greater awareness and, ultimately, greater peace. Have you ever found yourself unable to shake off a thought? Perhaps a cliffhanger ending in a show you were watching, or a song that got interrupted right before the best part. That lingering feeling is a small taste of the Zeigarnik effect. This psychological concept was named after Bluma Zeigarnik. She was a pioneering psychologist in the 1920s. She observed something quite interesting about human memory. Waiters in a busy cafe remembered complex orders with ease, but only while the orders were still active, still unpaid. Once the task was complete, the details quickly faded from memory. The Zeigarnik effect beautifully explains this everyday phenomenon. It states that our brains have a strong, almost preferential tendency to remember unfinished or interrupted tasks much more vividly, more so than the tasks we have successfully completed. It's as if our mind keeps a special highlighted file open for these. These open files, these incomplete tasks, constantly vie for our attention. They draw upon our cognitive resources, keeping us slightly on edge. They create a subtle yet persistent kind of mental tension, a clear signal from our brain that something requires resolution, something needs to be brought to a close before it can be truly filed away. This constant mental reminder system can be surprisingly draining. It often generates a persistent, low-level hum of anxiety, a subtle underlying feeling that something is always pending, a sense that our work is never quite done, never fully complete. This is the mental loop we often find ourselves caught in. The unfinished task remains active in our conscious awareness. It gently, or sometimes not so gently, nudges us for attention. This can significantly interfere with our ability to focus on new things. It can make true relaxation and presence more difficult to achieve because a part of our mind remains on call for that unresolved business. So this effect is not merely about having a poor memory for finished items. It's more about an enhanced, almost spotlighted memory for the incomplete. This powerful psychological principle highlights a core aspect of our wiring. Our minds are intrinsically geared towards achieving completion, towards closure. And the absence of this closure can create noticeable internal discomfort. Understanding the Zeigarnik effect is truly crucial for us. It helps us clearly see why unfinished goals don't just passively wait. They actively engage our mental faculties, often in subconscious ways. They create that subtle yet unyielding, ongoing internal pressure, prompting us, reminding us until we finally address them. Imagine your mind as your personal primary workspace. Each unfinished goal is like an open file folder, left scattered and unattended across that mental desk. As more accumulate, your mental desk becomes chaotic. This is what mental clutter feels like. It chips away at our sense of competence. We might feel inadequate, less capable. Imposter syndrome can creep in. Can I achieve what I set out to do? Mental clutter triggers rumination. We replay unfinished tasks in our minds. This cycle is profoundly exhausting. It drains our mental energy. Recognizing this clutter is the first step. This awareness empowers us to clear that mental desk. When goals remain unfinished, an emotion often visits. It drapes itself over our shoulders, feeling heavy. This emotion is guilt, a very familiar human feeling. It whispers to us about what we should have done. It reminds us of intentions that didn't turn into actions. We feel like we've let someone down. Often, that someone is ourselves, our own aspirations. Or perhaps we feel we've disappointed others, those who believed in our vision or depended on our progress. This cloak of guilt can be a weighty burden to carry. Guilt arises for many reasons with unfinished tasks. It's often tied to the feeling of wasted resources, wasted time, energy, or even money invested. We see the potential that was there, now seemingly stalled. An internal voice might chide us for this perceived waste. This voice speaks of obligation, of commitment not met. It highlights the gap between our starting enthusiasm and the current incomplete state of our endeavors. It's a natural response to feel this way when we value what we started and see it languish. This feeling of guilt doesn't just appear and disappear quickly. It can linger, coloring our days in subtle ways. It can be a quiet hum beneath our daily activities, a background radiation of slight unease or self-reproach. Even when we are not consciously thinking about that specific goal, the weight of it can make other tasks feel heavier. It can dim our sense of accomplishment in other areas, because that unfinished business still calls out silently, demanding a resolution, a sense of closure that we haven't yet been able to provide. But it's important to understand guilt's purpose. It's not there simply to make us feel bad, to paralyze us. Guilt, when we listen to it with curiosity, can be a signal. It's an invitation to look closer at our choices, to examine our commitments, our priorities, our capacities. It asks us, what happened here? What can be learned? It can be a powerful teacher if we approach it with openness, not as a judge, but as a guide towards better alignment, helping us understand what truly matters and how to proceed with more wisdom and self-awareness in the future. Section 2. Shame. The Silent Saboteur. Sometimes the feeling goes deeper than guilt. This is the territory of shame, a silent saboteur. Shame attacks our sense of self, our worth. It thrives in darkness, in unspoken fears. But there is a path through the shadows of shame. It begins with bringing these feelings into the light, understanding that an unfinished goal is not a measure of your worth. Shame loses its grip when met with empathy, first from ourselves and then perhaps from trusted others. This is how we start to reclaim our inherent value. Section 3. Anxiety's tight grip and frustration's fire. Anxiety's tight grip and frustration's fire often stem from unfinished goals. This creates a persistent hum of unease and tension. Our subconscious keeps these tasks pending, causing stress. Frustration arises when we know the steps but can't execute. These emotions drain our energy but signal a disconnect. They invite us to explore this gap with compassion. Section 4. The slow burn of resentment. Resentment is a complex, often hidden emotion. It simmers quietly, building over time, like a slow burn. It takes root in our hearts, especially when we feel thwarted or unfairly treated. This lingering displeasure can harden into resentment, a heavy anchor that keeps us tied to past disappointments, making it difficult to move forward with a light heart. Acknowledging resentment is the first step toward release. It's a heavy weight, and carrying it serves no one. This emotion points to unmet needs or unresolved conflict. Looking at resentment with curiosity can uncover its roots, and it's an opportunity for deeper self-awareness and healing, a chance to untie ourselves from that bitter anchor and to navigate our future paths with more understanding. Sometimes the biggest hurdle isn't the goal itself, it's the towering standard we set for it, perfectionism. It whispers that anything less than flawless is failure. This voice can be incredibly persuasive. It promises an ideal outcome, a masterpiece. But often it leads to a blank page, an idea that never sees the light of day. The fear of not meeting that perfect image is overwhelming. This quest for the unattainable can be paralyzing. We tinker endlessly, we revise, we second guess. Progress slows to a crawl or halts completely because almost perfect feels like a defeat to the perfectionist. The joy of creation gets lost in the anxiety of evaluation. Every small flaw is magnified, every imperfection a catastrophe. This isn't really about high standards inspiring excellence. It's often about fear wearing a very clever disguise. Fear of judgment, fear of criticism, fear of falling short of an impossible benchmark that we ourselves have erected. Consider the projects you've started with such passion, the ones now gathering dust in a forgotten corner. How many of them stalled because they weren't just right? This pursuit of perfect often means we miss out on good. We miss out on done, on shared, on learned from. The energy that could have propelled us forward gets diverted into an endless loop of refinement, a loop that prevents us from ever reaching a finish line. It's a common reason why so many brilliant ideas remain locked away, never fulfilling their potential. So the dream of the perfect outcome, the flawless execution, can become the very reason the goal remains unfinished. It's a high price to pay for an ideal that rarely exists. Learning to embrace good enough can be truly liberating. It allows for progress, for learning, for growth. It frees us from the chains of impossible expectations. Understanding this allure of perfect is a vital step towards recognizing when it's helping and when it's hindering, and choosing to move forward, imperfections and all, because completion often teaches us more than perfection ever could. It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? Fear of success. Why would anyone fear the very thing they are striving for? Success brings change, and change, even positive change, can be scary. It can mean stepping into the unknown, into a new identity, or the pressure to maintain that new level of achievement. This hidden apprehension can subtly sabotage our efforts. Imagine standing on the edge of a significant breakthrough. The finish line is finally in sight, victory almost palpable. Suddenly, a strange resistance might begin to surface. We might find ourselves procrastinating on those final steps, or making uncharacteristic errors, or losing motivation. This could be the subconscious mind applying the brakes. Worried about what happens if the goal is met. Will old relationships change? Will new demands arise? What if I can't handle what comes next? It whispers. This fear can be more powerful than the desire for the goal itself. Sometimes success means outgrowing our current comfort zone. It might mean leaving behind familiar patterns or people. There can be a subconscious loyalty to our current struggles, or a fear of alienating those who are not on a similar path. If we achieve this big thing, who will we become? Will we still belong? Will we still be understood? These are profound questions that often go unasked yet felt. The ambiguity of a new, successful self can feel daunting. More daunting perhaps than the familiarity of striving, even if that striving is tinged with the frustration of incompletion. This fear of success isn't a conscious choice usually. It operates in the shadows, influencing our behavior quietly. It's the unacknowledged worry about the what-ifs that follow triumph. Bringing this fear into the light is incredibly important to ask ourselves, what am I afraid will happen if I succeed? Acknowledging these anxieties allows us to address them, to reassure ourselves that we can navigate the changes, that growth, while sometimes unsettling, is also rewarding. Understanding this shadow helps us move towards our goals, not just with ambition, but with courage to embrace what comes next. Understanding this shadow helps us move towards our goals, not just with ambition, but with courage to embrace what comes next. Sometimes we embark on a journey with a clear map. The destination is bright, the reasons compelling, but along the way, the waters can become murky. Our goals can fade like a photograph exposed to too much sun. Perhaps the goal was set based on external pressures, what others expected, or what seemed right, not from a deep, internal, authentic desire. When the why is weak, motivation dwindles. Life is a constant process of evolution and change. The person who set a goal years ago may not be the same today. Our values shift, our priorities reorder, our understanding of ourselves and the world deepens. What once seemed important can lose its urgency, its relevance to our current life, our evolved identity. This isn't a failure, it's a natural part of growth. Sometimes we simply outgrow our goals like old clothes. They no longer fit the person we're becoming. This shift in identity can make continuing feel forced, like trying to read a script that no longer resonates. The passion that once fueled the pursuit has cooled, replaced by a sense of obligation or even apathy. It's crucial to give ourselves permission to acknowledge this. To honestly ask, does this goal still align with who I am? Does it still reflect what truly matters to me now? Holding onto a goal out of stubbornness or past investment when our heart is no longer in it leads to stagnation and adds to that pile of unfinished draining tasks. Therefore, a lack of clarity or a shifting identity are profound reasons why goals are sometimes left behind. It's not always about a lack of discipline or effort. Sometimes it's about wisdom, about recognizing a mismatch between the path we are on and the path we need to be on. Regularly checking in with our why is essential, and having the courage to adjust our sails when the tides change. This self-awareness allows us to release old goals with grace, making space for new ambitions that truly light us up and align with the ever-evolving truth of who we are. Section 4. The Mask of Delay: Procrastination's Deeper Roots. Procrastination. We often see it as simple laziness, but more often than not, it's a much more complex behavior, especially when it comes to our important, cherished goals. It can be a mask, a clever disguise for deeper fears, fears that we might not want to consciously acknowledge. So we delay, we postpone, we find other urgent things, all to avoid confronting what truly holds us back. One of the most common fears hiding behind procrastination is the fear of failure, of not being good enough. If we don't truly try, if we don't fully commit by starting, then we can't really fail, can we? Or so the logic goes. Another powerful fear that procrastination often conceals is the fear of judgment, of what other people will think. Will they criticize our work? Will they laugh at our ambition? This vulnerability can feel incredibly exposing, quite terrifying. So we hesitate, we polish endlessly, we wait for the perfect moment. Understanding procrastination as a symptom, not the core problem, is truly essential for overcoming it effectively. It requires us to look beneath the surface of our delaying tactics, to ask with gentle curiosity, what am I truly avoiding here? Section 1. The Persistent Whisper: What Unfinished Goals Tell Us About Desire. It's easy to see unfinished goals as failures, as monuments to things we didn't achieve, but what if they are more than that? What if they are quiet messengers trying to tell us something important about our deepest desires? Sometimes the goals that haunt us the most are the ones that truly resonate with our soul. They linger because a part of us still cares deeply. Think about that project you can't quite forget, the one that pops into your mind at odd hours. This isn't just your brain playing tricks on you, it's often a sign that the goal held genuine meaning. If a goal still has the power to occupy your thoughts, if it still evokes a feeling, a longing, a what if, then it's very likely connected to something you truly value. This persistence is a clue, a breadcrumb back to your heart. These unfinished tasks can act like a compass, pointing towards what truly ignites our passion, even if we've buried it under layers of doubt or distraction. The fact that it still whispers to us is significant. It suggests the initial motivation was authentic and strong. Life gets busy, priorities shift, and challenges arrive. But some dreams are stubborn. They refuse to fade completely. Section 2. Mirrors to ourselves: Uncovering Blind Spots and Beliefs. Unfinished goals do more than just echo our desires. They also hold up a mirror to our inner landscape. They reflect our patterns, our habits, our hidden beliefs. If we are brave enough to look closely at them, we can learn so much about how we approach challenges and where our personal blind spots might actually lie. These incomplete projects are not just about the outcome. They are rich with information about our process, about the journey we undertook and where we stumbled. Consider the reasons a particular goal was left undone. Was the initial plan truly realistic and well thought out? Or was it perhaps driven more by ego, a need to impress? Sometimes we chase goals based on external validation or a fleeting comparison with someone else's achievements. An unfinished goal can reveal these less authentic motivations. It can show us when our planning was perhaps too ambitious, or when we lacked the necessary resources or skills at the time. These are not failures of character, but crucial data points, helping us to set more aligned and achievable goals next time. These experiences also shine a bright light on our self-belief, or sometimes the painful lack of it in certain areas. In a world that often focuses solely on completion, it's easy to overlook the courage involved in even starting. Every unfinished goal began with a spark of ambition, a willingness to try something new, to reach for more. This act of beginning, of taking that initial risk, is in itself a testament to our inherent human drive. Most people have dreams they never even dare to pursue. They keep their aspirations locked safely away, unspoken. So, having an unfinished goal means you were bold, you were brave enough to step into the arena of effort. That initial step, that first move towards a new vision, requires a significant amount of hope and vulnerability. It means you dared to imagine a different reality, and you were willing to invest your time and energy to try and bring that vision into existence. This is not a small thing, it is a profound act. It signifies a belief, however fleeting, in your own potential, a desire to grow, to learn, to create, or to change. These are qualities to be celebrated, not condemned, even if the journey didn't end where you initially hoped. Think of the ambition that fueled those beginnings, the excitement, the anticipation, the dreams of what could be. Unfinished goals are not just markers of what wasn't completed, they are also reminders of our capacity to dream big. They are proof that we are willing to stretch ourselves, to venture beyond our comfortable, familiar routines. This willingness to take risks is essential for growth. Every unfinished goal is more than just a memory. It's a rich, detailed data set waiting to be analyzed. It contains invaluable clues about what works for us and, just as importantly, what doesn't work for us. These are not dead ends, but rather learning laboratories where we conducted experiments in ambition and execution. The results, even if not what we desired at that time, provide us with critical information for future ventures. Information that can significantly increase our chances of success if we take the time to carefully unpack and understand it. To tap into this data, we need to become curious investigators, ask specific probing questions about what happened. What were the exact points where progress stalled or stopped? Were the obstacles primarily internal, like fear or procrastination, or were they external, such as lack of resources or support? Did the goal change in importance over time for you? Was the timeline realistic, or did it set you up for pressure? Getting granular with these details is incredibly revealing. It moves us beyond vague feelings of disappointment towards concrete, actionable insights for our next attempt. Understanding these specific blockers is like finding a hidden key. It unlocks a deeper understanding of our own patterns. Perhaps we learn that we need more structure to stay on track, or that we thrive when we have an accountability partner. Maybe we discover that we underestimate the time needed for tasks, or that certain types of goals drain our energy quickly. This knowledge isn't meant to be used for self-criticism, but rather for self-awareness and strategic adjustment. It helps us design future goals and plans more intelligently, tailoring our approach to our unique strengths and vulnerabilities. So, we've walked through a lot together. We've looked at why these unfinished goals stick around. We've felt the emotions they bring up. We've even found some hidden lessons. Now, it's time for the gentle work of healing. It's time to take brave, actionable steps forward. This isn't about quick fixes or magic wands. It's about conscious choices and self-kindness. This is where we start to clear the path towards a lighter, more intentional way of being. The first step is an audit, a gentle audit. This isn't about judgment or harsh critique. It's about honest, compassionate curiosity. I want you to find a quiet moment for this. Grab a piece of paper or open a new document and write down every single open loop you can think of. Every project started, every ambition paused. Big ones, small ones, silly ones. all of them. Let the list grow without any editing for now. Just get them out of your head and onto the page. Once we've audited our list, we move to another shift. This is about how we even think about completion. We often have this rigid, all-or-nothing idea. Either it's 100% finished, perfect, and tied with a bow, or it's a failure, a mark against us. But life is rarely that black and white, is it? Sometimes 80% done is truly enough. Sometimes the core value has already been extracted. We need to challenge these old, unhelpful definitions and create new ones that serve us better. Think about those goals you've decided to keep, or those you look back on with a sting of unfinished. Could you reframe unfinished as simply a pause? Maybe it wasn't a full stop, a failure. Maybe it was a necessary intermission, a resting point. Life happens, circumstances change, we need breaks. This reframing isn't about making excuses, it's about offering ourselves understanding. It's about seeing the journey, not just the end point, and acknowledging the effort even if the ribbon wasn't cut. We carry so much, don't we? The weight of expectations, the sting of disappointments, especially around those goals we cherished but didn't finish. Guilt, shame, maybe even resentment towards our past selves. These feelings are heavy. They keep us tethered. To truly move forward, we need to practice self-forgiveness. This is a profound act of self-compassion. It's about acknowledging our humanity, our imperfections, and choosing to release ourselves from past judgments. It's about healing that relationship with the you who tried. I want to suggest a small ritual for this, a self-forgiveness letter. It can be incredibly powerful. Write a letter to your past self. Yes, really. Address the you who started that goal, who struggled with it, and say these words, or words that feel true for you. I forgive you for not finishing. Name the goal. I understand your reasons. I see your effort. I acknowledge the circumstances, the fears, the challenges. You were doing the best you could with what you knew then. Be gentle, be kind, be as loving as you would to a dear friend. This ritual isn't about condoning inaction if action was needed. It's about releasing the emotional charge that keeps you stuck. It's about empathy for your own journey, your own struggles. When we forgive our past selves, we reclaim so much energy that was tied up in regret or self-criticism. We free ourselves to be fully present now and to look towards the future with a lighter heart. This act of forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, a gift of peace and the freedom to begin anew, without the ghosts of past incompletions haunting your steps. Now, with this cleared space and lighter heart, what's next? It's time to start one thing, just one. From your audit, perhaps there's a goal that still whispers, a goal that, despite everything, still lights a fire in you. This is the one to choose for resurrection. Approach it with 100% intention, with fresh eyes, with the wisdom you've gained from this whole process. Don't try to tackle everything at once. Focus your energy. Give this one goal your full heart. This intentional new beginning can be incredibly transformative. We've journeyed far in this exploration, haven't we? From understanding the psychology of unfinished goals to feeling their emotional weight, their hidden lessons, and now to finding actionable ways to move forward. My hope is that you see these goals differently now, not as symbols of failure, but as part of your story, part of your growth, your courage, your humanity. They are not enemies to be defeated, but rather teachers offering profound insights if we listen, and guides pointing us towards what truly matters. Moving forward doesn't mean you'll never have an unfinished goal again. Let's be realistic. Life is beautifully unpredictable. Priorities will shift. New dreams will emerge. We will evolve. The aim isn't perfection in completion. It's about cultivating a new relationship with our ambitions, a relationship built on self-awareness, honesty, and compassion. It's about making conscious choices about what we pursue and how we navigate the inevitable twists and turns. It's about knowing when to persevere and when to pivot, and doing both with grace and self-respect. The true treasures from this exploration are not just finished lists. They are the deeper self-awareness you cultivate, the compassion you learn to extend to yourself, the courage you build by facing these difficult feelings, and the wisdom you gather from every attempt, every pause. These are the qualities that enrich your life immeasurably. They empower you to live more intentionally, to pursue your dreams with both passion and practicality, to honor your efforts, regardless of the outcome. This is where the real growth, the real victory lies. So take these tools, these insights, and make them your own. Audit gently, redefine boldly, forgive freely, begin intentionally. Remember that every step, even a small one, is movement. Embrace the journey of becoming, with all its imperfections. Celebrate your willingness to try, to learn, to grow. This path of engaging with our goals, finished or unfinished, is ultimately a path of engaging more deeply with ourselves. And that is a journey always worth undertaking, with courage, with heart, and with enduring hope. Thank you for walking this path with me.